Most indie film producers don't fail in production. They fail because they didn't know the scope of their work way before they even call action. My name is Yamoria Wright, and I've been producing for 20 years, and I've been producing film for 10 years. I know this because, y'all, I made this mistake myself more times than I would even like to admit. Story time. It was June 2019, and we were filming a party scene for Love My Roomie. It was vibrant, dancing, balloons, beautifully designed production-wise. But something happened that I did not expect. And to be honest, something happened that I don't think anyone on my team knew. And if they did, somehow we were just in the thick of production and no one communicated it. And it is that it was Pride weekend. And if you know anything about Pride weekend in New York, first of all, you know it's not really a weekend to miss. Second of all, you know that it is packed. And we were filming in the heart of Manhattan. So yeah, I've been there. Filming during Pride, very hard for crowd control and even harder for sound control. But what worked in our favor, I'm gonna be honest, was that we had all of these people who were excited about the fact that we were filming, and we had on hand different waivers. Listen, you have a release form. You have an appearance release form on hand. It'll help you out. So everybody that was excited about our production got to sign off that they were cool making an appearance in Love My Roomie. And because I had their emails, I reached out to every single one of them once our series premiered on Amazon Prime Video. I'm Yamoria Wright, and this is the Producer's Blueprint. Here's the pattern I see all too much with emerging filmmakers, and honestly, established filmmakers, we do it too. Okay, I just told you my business. All right, so you've got the script and it calls for a party scene. Okay, so you've got your background actors, you've got your locations, maybe you even have, the music that you want to play in the background cleared. I don't know, you got it all together. You got your production design rolling. And then something happens. Nobody stops to ask, do we have the people, like the key people that we need to lead and guide our set? Do we have enough food? Do we have enough money for the food? Do we have the location long enough? Like, do we really have the resources to pull this scene off? Amidst all of the excitement, it's really easy to forget these things. Why are my hands crossed? It's okay. I'm gonna keep that in. I got really excited, y'all, so I had my hands crossed like this. If you're listening, you don't understand, but like I had my hands crossed like super formal. It was kind of weird. But anyways, what is important for you to understand is that in circumstances like this, the scope can literally be like outpaced and just not fit into your resources. So, what I'm saying is the work itself, like what is required to make this project or to shoot this scene, you might not have all of the resources in order to make that happen. And this is not to discourage or hate on anybody because I'm all about being resourceful. However, we're planning like a pro, okay? This is the producer's blueprint. So we're just trying to get ahead of any challenges. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so since I already told you my business, I'm gonna dive even deeper into how I got there. The party scene during Pride. Okay, so in 2019, for my series Love My Roomie, I was so excited about this party scene because I had expanded the series. And so I was, hiring a larger crew. I was using a steady cam op. I mean, I was really going all in, y'all. Like, I don't even know how I had the energy to do that back then, but I digress. So I went all in with this scene, and I'm really excited about this big crew, and I'm really excited about this larger cast and all of these overlapping stories. And then something hit me, and it hit me hard. And it didn't hit me until I got on set. The day before the big Pride parade was still a little bit like internally chaotic for me because I did not have the people power to pull off this huge scene. I mean, we had cast like 40, 30 or 40 background actors, and then sometimes background actors don't be showing up, and that's no tea, no shade, that's just what it is. And so maybe about 15 of them showed up, right? And so we only needed about 20 anyways for the scene we were shooting that day. But what I realized is I had a great team, a team that a lot of them we continued to work with each other on projects thereafter, right? But I realized that they could not stretch themselves to be here, there. Like we could only do so much. So I didn't prepare specifically for those days to have enough leadership on set in order to see things through. And so because I was the executive producer, what ends up happening? I didn't create enough separation by hiring other producers for the project. And so it ended up still all kind of pointing back to me, a lot of it. And my leadership, even when they made amazing decisions on how to put out fires, they could only do so much because we had a lot of cast, a lot of food coming in and out, a lot of a large crew with huge equipment pieces, and here we were trying to like still move the day along, like an indie day where you're just doing quick setups and switching your setups. But I had this huge kind of like baby Hollywood, I call it baby Hollywood situation going on. Okay. To break it down in business terms, I was trying to build a market scale project but on a super duper indie budget and with super duper indie resources, right? And that's fine for a smaller scene, but for what I was trying to create, it actually ended up creating a lot of stress for me. What I'm proud of, we all pulled it off. We pulled it off. It looked amazing. What I'm not proud of is I had a moment on set, to be quite honest, where someone who was really special and dear to me, I just was like kind of snappy. And at the end of the night, I apologized. And like, even though she and I have talked about this so many times over, we've worked together since then, but I still can't get over it because it was a moment where I saw the shadow side of me as a leader, and it was also and I snapped at her. I didn't yell at her, I was just kind of like, "Why am I doing this? I'm the director," it was just kind of like, "Girl, who do you think you are?" We're like, are you kidding me? It's indie set, like, we're all here. But I was literally hot because it was the summer and there were lights everywhere, but I was also just extremely stressed and spread thin. And it taught me that, going the extra mile to hire people, even if you do have to pay, which I hope at this point we're all considering how we're compensating someone. I'm not saying let that hold you back, but need to think about that. But what it taught me was the importance of having a director's assistant for myself. And so when I made Don't Be Desperate, the project that I shot 2 years after that, I had a director's assistant and I had a large crew for that. That came with its own challenges. We'll talk about that in another episode. There's another day's challenges to talk about. But the point is, I did learn a lesson and I took that lesson along with me. So, we're going to get back to our producer's blueprint questions and we're going to talk about the scope decision, or just simply put, scope. Okay. So I'm going to refer to my notes and walk you through this. Get ready to take your notes. Okay. So the first question that I have for you and that I have for myself moving forward is, what are the most complex elements of this film or of this series, of this short, whatever you're shooting, right? And I'm not saying necessarily the most exciting ones, because sometimes we might have a scene that just like pops, like it just pops. Okay. I'm not talking about necessarily the most exciting, just the most complex. You've got people talking here and there, and you've got really complex setups, or maybe you have a really detailed shot list. Okay. I don't think on an indie budget your entire project should be full of those. I do think that it's fun, exciting, and a moment of growth on an indie budget to have a moment, a scene, or just a moment within a scene that is a little more complex and allows you to, build your muscles, stretch a little bit, right? Get creative. Okay. So the complexity is what stretches you. Speaking of that, okay? And it also stretches your resources. And by your resources, I mean your people, your budget, and baby, the thing you can never get back, your time. Okay. So I want you to think about that. And I also want you to think about what it requires. So that's the cast sides, that's the VFX, that's the setup, crowd scenes, like I just said to you, and how many setups also that you need within a single day. Next up, I want you to think about how many people each of those things requires. Now, you can think to scale, or you can think minimally how many people it takes to, execute said vision. Okay. And I don't want you to just think about money. Although I do want you to think about the money because I don't want you to be surprised when you make decisions that makes your budget spike, okay? But I want you to think about the people because at the end of the day, what I believe matters the most are the relationships we're building and the people we're telling these stories alongside, okay? So, I also want you to think about the complexity of the production and understand that the bigger the scope, the more management the production will need. All right? So, I hope that part makes sense. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And of course, if you have the Plan Like a Pro blueprint, you'll be guided through this along the way. Let's keep going. So I know that I said that I wasn't going to talk about Don't Be Desperate in this episode, but I kind of can't help it. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive right in, okay? At least talk about it in a little bit because I learned a lot on this project. So I intentionally wrote this project because I wanted to test my ability to scale, right? And not just as a producer, but just like in action, like pay my cast and crew, every single member of the team, ensure that I had, contracts with everybody just like lined up, very organized. Love My Roomie was a SAG New Media project. So that wasn't new for Don't Be Desperate, but it was new because it was the SAG short film agreement at the time. So that was brand new because now I'm all of a sudden dealing with a next level of SAG, right? A different layer. And I'm getting really into the weeds of what it's like to really make a SAG project that isn't just like, you know, I don't know. I think Love My Roomie's budget was like 20,000 per episode though, but it took a long time to make it. Anyways, I'm gonna stay focused here. So, paying everyone on Don't Be Desperate, including my casting director, it changed everything. It really legitimized the project for me. And it allowed, I believe, even those people who were my crew members on Love My Roomie when they came on a Don't Be Desperate, it really set the tone for where the project was going to go and how intentional the project was. It allowed for people to, of course, show up because they are so excited about the story, but maybe they were at work. And it prevented me from getting so excited about being creative because I understood that the longer we're all here, even if everyone's like, yeah, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, like nobody's volunteering. So if the cool ideas are flowing in and it's causing OT meaning overtime, then it's not as exciting anymore, huh? Because I got to pay for overtime. That's different when you're all just, doing IMDb credits and meals. So that scope challenged me as a producer to really think about what it meant to scale per production, but it also allowed me to provide my cast and crew with what I felt, was due. Even though it was hard being able to raise those funds, I had just come out with an 8-episode series that included a short film that's 30 minutes. That is Love My Roomie. I felt like I was all out of excuses about being able to pay people. So I also want you to think about that, producers. How far is too far when it comes to just asking your friends for favors? At what point in your career, no matter whether you feel like you're there or not, is it time to really slow down your pace and think about how you're able to financially compensate everyone who's showing up for you in your dream or for the dream of the person whose work you're dedicated to producing? So, I want to offer you a different way to think about scope, right? Most of us as filmmakers are thinking about scope as budget, rightfully so, scaling, increasing revenue. We're thinking about it in those terms. But what I'm saying when it comes to scope in this conversation is about the people that you attach to your project and their capacity. And the way that you are able to, my suggestion for you to really think about the scope of your project is what are what is their capacity at this time? Like, what capacity does each of these individuals have? Literally, you're going to have to ask them. Someone in your team is going to have to ask them. So, what's their capacity and what am I asking them to do? And that capacity, if you're doing a longer project like a series, it could really change week to week. And also, I want to encourage you to be a producer who does not repeat any corporate toxic ways of managing or leading, and think about what do these people need in order to do their job that I would hope they're very passionate about and that they love. So there are four things that determine capacity. That is time, people, energy, and you guessed it, money. And energy is something that a lot of people don't talk about until you're in it. But it's the most important thing because y'all know it. Come on, be real. There are projects, or whether it's your 9 to 5, whatever, where it doesn't matter how much money you're making, you don't have the energy. And the money doesn't seem to sometimes even make up for the amount of energy it takes to do a job. So when you're doing these long days, and even if you are paying people, if you're not paying them a competitive rate, or if you're paying them minimum wage, you can't push them past their max of energy. Like, you can't push them beyond that. And when you do, even if people come on, I've been that person, and I've led teams of those people who are like, I can do it, let's push through. But the next day, their eyes got a little less light in it. Their eyes don't have that twinkle anymore. It's like just a little less glimmer in their eyes, or they just aren't moving the same because they're tired, because their energy is being drained. And that energy, consistent energy throughout the project, throughout your principal photography phase, and honestly, your whole project, but we're speaking about principal photography here. It's important to be able to do all that you can to maintain that energy with your cast, your crew, your team, because they're your people. Y'all are all building together, okay? The beautiful thing is when the scope matches the capacity, or they're at least in alignment and balance, it allows for your project to feel like it's in motion, and people's joy and their energy can be sustained even through challenging times. It's film. All sorts of things can go wrong. Anytime you're pointing a camera at something, you're asking for stuff to kind of go awry. But the point is understanding how the scope of your project should match the capacity of the people. If you know that the scope of your project is a little larger, or some scenes are a little, heavier to lift, then that just means that for that particular day, maybe you have more people on set, maybe you have more PAs, whatever that might look like. I also want you to think about that. You don't always need to have the same number of people on set each day. Now, you do want to be mindful of that when you contract people, right? You don't want anyone to be expecting a rate that they're not getting, but you can definitely change the amount of people on set dependent and contingent on your needs, okay? So here's what I want you to do now. I'm about to say take 20 minutes, but really it could be 20 minutes, it could be 5. I want you to go back to your answers from the last episode. You know who your audience is, you know what you want them to feel, you know what your intention of the project is. Now, look at your script or your outline or your beat sheet, and I want you to think, take a step back. Remember, I like a bird's eye view, right? Aerial shot, get that? Okay. I want you to think, what are the most complex parts of this production? What are the most complex parts of this scene? What are the most complex parts of each scene? And then I want you to take another step back and say, all right, what do I need to do to ensure that on the day of production, whenever we're shooting said scene, I have enough people power in order to execute, so that the people that are on set are not stretched, and so that everyone can preserve their energy? Next, I want you to ask, what are the 3 most complex components of this production? Do I have the people and the infrastructure to make it happen? Not can I stretch people? Not will they say yes? Do I have the people and the infrastructure to make it happen? If your answer is yes, cool beans. If your answer is no, what do I need to do in order to get those people? It might be simply asking. It might be scaling down what's required for the scene, the vision for the scene. And it might simply be speaking with your cinematographer or speaking with your production designer and asking like, hey, how can I make this scene run smoother? What ways do you see that I can scale back and pull this scene back? Now, this is, of course, when you get into the writer question. So if you're the producer for a writer, then you're going to have to guide the writer through this, right? If you're producing somebody that's not you, producing work that's not yours. But the point is, you really have to have those conversations. And if you're not sure what your blind spots are, that's why you can ask members of your team. Here's how I want you to think of this from here on out, okay? The film that you're capable of making now may not be, and it won't be the film that you're capable of making years from now when you have this film and you're able to, go in front of investors and say, here's the proof of what I can do. I don't want you to think about this next film as being the last and the biggest project in your big break. And listen, if you've been doing this for 10 plus years like me, I get it. The stakes feel high. Like, how much more can I just like do before I either make a U-turn and do something else or I just push to make it the biggest project ever? I get the temptation to do that. You just have to think about your career as a complete journey and say, I'm going to take steps on this project to push myself further, but they do not have to be humongous baby Hollywood steps. I'm coining that too, baby Hollywood. So to recap, episode 1 was about clarity. Today we talked about scope. And next time we are talking about execution. Because we're producers, so we do things. We are building a producer's mindset, one episode at a time. I'm your Maria Wright. Take what helps, leave what doesn't.